And we're live.
Just got inside. It's the mAng Neads Show. Sonic Garden Radio Live. Check it. What is it, Tuesday? Tuesday? The 28th. Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the mAng Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio, recorded here in the Sonic Gardens studio in Norwich, New York.
I got Troy.
Yep, gotcha.
Sound like he was
getting a little loud for you?
Yeah, breathing hard in my ear.
All right, and so yeah, we are running this show. It's our 44th day, hard eights. You know what I'm saying? 4-4. That's a craps inside.
Here we
inside
go.
Joke right there.
There it is.
But
inside.
You know, we're running this thing daily, giving you guys updates, some banter, some Sonic Gardens music.
What the fuck?
And the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joshua.
What happened? My fucking goddamn's all... I'm already swearing. Well, here we go. Here he is. She was turned sideways. What's going on in there? How's everyone today? Down here, it's a beautiful day outside.
Anybody tuning in for the first time, we're looking to get, 1,000 subscribers.
We're looking
so
to
if you
get
can hit that like button, subscribe. Josh is looking to get herpes.
Fucking
so
pass it on.
Private message.
Yep. It's like the gift that keep it coming. Boom. What is up?
Nothing, man. Another day.
Another day, he says.
Intro song, Uncleuku and the Guise.
Yeah.
Performing their song, Bruises. This was recorded back in October of 2017.
What do you got going on today?
This is it, man. I'm down for a
this is it.
Another show. A little bit of updates. Some
what are we updating
music,
today?
Man.
What are we updating?
Man, what are the updates?
Did you take a drive through town or something? Oh, we can't
it's
go.
active.
It is?
Yeah, shit's happening. People are busy. They're out there.
Well, I mean, I've been busy over here, but I haven't been out on the fucking town. Fucking breathing hard on people. I see these people out there just shaking hands and stuff because they were at the end of their particular walk, or they just had passed each other and decided to talk, and then they shake hands and walk away.
I don't know, man.
Oh, I do. I do. What the fuck? Like, you're not gonna touch your face from there to your house?
Right.
I mean, if you're that good, then that's good. Then you've trained yourself. But do you have a cut on your hand? Boom, motherfucker. All right. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's taking that germophobia to a whole nother level.
Well, they say to wash your hands, but if you just because you wash your hands and then you go touch someone and then touch your face, then that defeats all the purpose.
True.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Well, what can you do? I know we really don't, we don't have any control over any of it. It's just the whole
Well, we do. We've been controlling it, sorta. You know what I mean? Imagine if we didn't lock down what the numbers would be.
I'm saying, like, you and I, and at this point, we can all, like, protect ourselves. It's almost like turns into the point where it's like, okay, the people that want to go out and infect each other, that's cool.
I mean, is it, though?
I mean, it's not, but...
Is it cool when they get sick or they die?
It's not cool at all.
I mean?
I'm just saying.
You think, like...
Yeah.
I don't. It's not
We're back up on that. What's this, man?
What?
Back up on that 29%.
You didn't. Yeah, it's just like your parents didn't tell you not to play in the road because they just didn't want you playing in the road. They didn't want you to get hit. Like that's like. Just because you get this doesn't mean you're gonna live.
Right.
You might die, motherfucker.
You just might.
And then someone's got to deal with your shit.
Well, I was.
Right?
Yeah.
Then someone's got to move all of your shit.
They got to move your shit.
Right?
They got to move your shit and they got to carry your shit.
They got to carry your shit. They got to move your shit. They got to find a place for it if they don't fucking want your shit.
Right.
So just fucking stay home.
Stay home.
Wash your balls, though. Don't forget about your balls with all the hand washing. Take us to the next episode, Ange.
It's yeah, I don't know, man. We got a call-in number 607.
Oh, I thought we had a call already. I was gonna say, whoa, buddy, we're fucking moving quick today.
Scrolling across the screen, 607-373-HEAT. If anybody wants to call in and give us an update on their status or condition or
don't you
how they feel or what they're going through. I mean,
don't your band sing a song with heat in it?
Heat is on.
Oh,
yeah,
that's an original.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, you want to hear it?
You got it?
Oh, you know it, man.
Oh, I didn't know it, but yeah, if you got it, we're gonna have a song.
It's the one that we got on
people.
We got a music video with that one.
Oh yeah, music.
So, yeah,
we're like music video.
Music videos.
He's like a hot little. He's like one of them little snakes in the basket, waiting for someone to blow the flute or whatever. What's that instrument they play?
The flute.
Oh,
yes.
The flute. That's what Warner's like. He's like a little snake in the in the basket, waiting for the flute to blow so he can call up. Hey. So we got a song.
Yeah, we do. All right, we're gonna kick you guys.
Did you cue up the CD or what?
Queued up the CD.
All right, compact.
All right, right up on the screen here. We're gonna pull you guys in with a song. This is The Heat Is On from Chaka live Sonic Gardens on March 15th of 2020, the day before the official stay-at-home order.
Sunday, bloody Sunday it was.
So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Heat is on. Ooh, we are not going to make that error again.
Oh.
Although I do it all the time.
It's all right.
We have to come up in here. Yeah. We're going to have to click on that.
Uncle.
And then we're going to come back on this one. We're going to go this full screen.
It's a process.
And we're going to pull this one back here.
This becomes process of elimination.
When the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving, I keep moving. Whoa, when the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving on. When life is giving up on you, you could simply dance away. All the thoughts that occupy can only make it justified. Oh, when the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving, I keep moving. Oh, when the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving on. Loneliness is all you feel. You can simply dance away. Just let the love into your soul. Let your body lose control. Oh, when the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving, I keep moving. Oh, when the heat is on, I keep moving all night long. Dance to the rhythm and feel it strong. I keep moving on.
I like that song.
Yeah.
I always think you guys are gonna go into like that in the what's that song? Oh man, girl, I want to make you sweat till you can't sweat no more.
Oh yeah, nice.
I always think you're gonna go into that song. I don't know. At some point in that song, evidently, it sounds like the some of the music in that other song. It's a good song. I like that.
Yeah.
The Heat Is On, it's called?
Yeah. It's Heat Is On.
I like it.
I keep moving all night long.
That was that was penned by someone in your band?
Yeah, Jesse wrote that song. Old Tressler, man. He's a songwriting fool.
Oh, yeah, Jesse Dressler.
Jesse, if you're out there, miss you, buddy.
Jesse.
I'm telling you, I don't know what we got to do something to figure out a way.
Oh,
to,
dude, they're putting people together.
I'm just saying, small.
I think you 6. How many are you?
There's 5 of us.
Oh well.
Well, we might need a few more to get the production, but if we could record and
Oh, you
just get
can.
together.
If you're feeling a little bit about it, you can space yourself out a little bit more too if you want.
Yeah, we have a big stage. Like,
well, I'm
it's
just
not
I'm
like
just
we're
saying
tight
you and
anyway in
Nate
that.
could be forward more if you wanted.
Yeah.
And then you're like away from Randy and
I think we are pretty much,
well,
everybody's pretty good.
your difference between 6 feet and mine are two different things. But I think you could do it no matter how you want to do it.
Something.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
I think you should do it.
You guys are out there listening.
People are getting together. Man, did you see fucking... I don't know that guy too well, but I know who he is. That Post Malone dude.
Yeah.
He got together with Travis Barker from the Transplants and
yep.
Travis. He was also in Blink 182.
Okay.
One of Warner's bands. So he got together with him and then two other guys. I think another guy's like in his band. I don't know. I guess when he tours, maybe they play some instruments too. I don't really know the whole. But anyways, they did a bunch of Nirvana songs like on so people could donate, trying to raise money.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that motherfucking dude tore it up. Let me tell you what. I'm telling you, that guy, he's a rapper, right?
Yeah, so he was the voice. He did the vocals.
He played like the rhythm.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. But they had a guitar player too, but he played the rhythm, man, and he did the vocals, yes. But
Post Malone plays the guitar? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had heard a quick video of him doing like a Sublime song too before or whatever, and I was like, yeah, what, you know what I mean? But then I saw this and they fucking tear it up, man. A bunch of Nirvana songs they played too.
That's cool.
I heard him say, like, I watched it, a bit of it, and then I heard him say, like, he grew up, he wanted to do something weird. He's always playing either before his shows or like during set break, or maybe he doesn't do set break, maybe after, he was saying. But anyways, he plays him and the one dude in his band, I guess his name's Brian or whatever, they play Nirvana songs like just fucking around because he really liked Nirvana a lot. He said it was one of his bands, but
right.
Yeah, they tore it up, man. I don't even know how I fucking fumbled upon it, but I listened to it. It was good. I mean,
yeah, man. So it was like a live thing.
No, they did it live, but what I watched wasn't live. It was like taped, and then they left it around so people could watch it and then donate.
Right. So I guess my point is that's that live performance of like I talk about with Sonic Gardens. It's like a thing that,
Yeah, and they raised money, and it looked like they were all at his house, or like he had them at his house in Salt Lake
and
City,
everybody just
Utah.
got together, and man, that's so cool.
They were all though in like different rooms and shit. Like they were spread out pretty damn good, but they fucking tore it up, man. I thought
Nice.
so. I don't usually like much either, so. But yeah.
Nope. If you liked it, it must have been pretty good for sure, because you are a critic. I'm just kidding.
I'm something.
A critic.
Yeah, dick. For D.
That's
D
the
for
word.
dick. Is there any news? Anything happen? Bombs over Baghdad or anything?
I don't know, man.
Oh, well.
I didn't really check any news. What do you got?
I
think I did. What did I?
I mean, I've come out firing today. I think.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I think I'm. Yeah, I think it's nice outside again. Still.
I thought it was funny that there's all these people doing the stay-at-home broadcast. So it's really just the same freaking low budget that we're doing. Obviously, bigger budget. They probably have nice stuff
right
from their things.
And they suck, right?
Which we're always looking for anybody that's willing to sponsor us and wants to hook us up with.
I need new
stuff.
shades. Somebody wants to send me new shades.
And
Still,
we
all
are
my shades are fucking scratched.
We are a music studio,
I'll
so
even
we
take
can use all kinds of music and audio support.
You could send us some more disinfectant wipes if you want.
But I found it funny that there was a story here that a reporter went on air wearing a suit coat and no pants.
Right.
And it was like the image was big so they could see that he wasn't wearing any pants.
Right. Or undies. So
Wait, no undies?
No, I
Stop.
don't. Oh, shit.
Junk hanging.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Twigs and berries just hanging out. But I did see where that lady was like doing a makeup tutorial or whatever, and her husband was in the shower nude.
Oh, okay.
With his sausage hanging out. Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was the big story I found. You know, that's really all I was. Like I said, I haven't been keeping track of much else. You know, I like to watch. You know what I caught myself watching last night?
I can only imagine, but you're gonna tell me though, right?
It was
the people.
Yeah, it was a deposition of first it was Donald Trump Jr. and it was a deposition about how it was in 2016.
Who told this guy it was a good idea to have kids?
And it was
they let this guy breed, huh?
But it's a deposition, so they're being interviewed by lawyers, you know, and this is 2016. This was before he became president, right when he was like becoming the Republican nominee, and he was redoing a hotel, and it was described as like the old post office in New York City, and he had a lease for a restaurant in there from like a renowned chef, a top like famous chef.
Right.
And when all that, you know, all of his rhetoric came out, that dude wanted out of the lease. So it was like just a little stupid case, like sort of. But it was interesting to watch these guys, both of them, because in my opinion,
the son and him?
Yeah, it's really funny because first, you know, they get like Donald Trump Jr. to give, like, because he's the one who does it first, and they get him to give his title within the company, and he's like vice president of like, oh man, something to do with like procurement and whatever. So, and then there's like and they're like all and then they're like, so are you the only one with this title? And he's like, no, I'm one of, you know, and they're like, who else has it? And he's like, well, my siblings, my brother and my sister. And then he's like, I don't know. He just like, it's just funny because he's like, everything they had asked, it ended up being like, you know, he just played stupid with everything, and I don't know. But he was pretty good at like not saying anything, like keeping his mouth shut, just answering the questions. Most of his answers were, I don't remember. I didn't deal with that. They asked him about like every hotel, and they're like, do they have a famous chef there? And he's like, no, you know, nobody I can think of. And it's like, so they were questioning about all this stuff, and like, did you handle this one in Panama? No, I wasn't part of that. No, I wasn't. So it's like he goes on to like, didn't do anything. And then they had to get Donald in there.
Big D?
Yeah, man. And Big D's in there, and so this is 2016, and he's got this deposition with a little, you know, a recorder just on him, and you know he's got to answer the questions, and it's just so funny because anybody that like knows anything about, you know, you don't just like, I don't know, man, people that it's just like he is so used to bullshitting that he bullshits in a law situation, which is so the reason why there was no way that guy could ever get on any stand, you know, for any of these
and testify
about anything, because even sitting there, it's not like he necessarily incriminated himself, but he does, because he says something like, you know, oh, we do great and this great. Like 1 second he says, they show him, they're like, so is this so are you, you know, personally responsible for all the dealings? And he's like, well, no, I'm not personally responsible. And then, you know, for everything, he's like, I mean, I make all the calls, but I allow people to make decisions. And then they like show him his website about the Trump organization, where it says that he is personally involved in every decision that is, you know, like, so they call him out on that. And then he goes on to say, well, you know, then they're like saying how great it is and this and that, and how much, it was just about this guy trying to get out of a lease. And I just see it like, it's interesting how in that situation he is like the talker. He like just keeps talking, and you're like, dude, just answer yes, no, or like I don't know, or
That's
like
how they
why
do
you gotta
it.
just keep talking about.
They walk you around.
Like I'm great, and then he even went on in that thing to say, I mean, there were 17 candidates, and I'm at the top now, and I've won a lot of primaries, and you know, so you can tell the point. It's like he talks the same way. He's been doing the same thing. It's always just about
right, circling
you
back
know?
around and avoiding everything.
Yeah.
Fucking
And I guess that's that's about it.
trait, family trait.
So it's funny. So yeah, that was there you go. That's what I watched, man. And it was boring as hell, but it was just like I don't know. I just was caught myself like watching.
Yeah,
a little
man.
bit of
Trump
it.
sells TV, man. That's what it is.
I didn't watch it all. It was too long, too boring.
Got you for at least 20, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it did.
both of them. One of them got me for 10.
Oh. Then you went back?
The Don Trump Jr. one was funny because it's like he talked up how like you know, executive he is and how he's what he does. They're like, so describe what you do, and he
Suck
explains
your
it. And then when they ask him about all those details, he's like, oh, I wasn't involved in that. And they're like, they don't like call him out on it, but me as a listener, I'm like, okay, so you just said you were in charge of this.
But you're
Then they asked you to mention every restaurant and like hotel that there is, and he like couldn't even think of the 6 different ones that they have, you know. Needed his own lawyer to go, oh, you forgot to mention this one in Las Vegas. And he's like, oh, yeah, the one in Las Vegas. And they're like, did you do anything there? No, I wasn't involved in that. No, I wasn't involved in that. And it's like he didn't. The only one he was involved in was the one that was under the scrutiny where this guy wanted to back out. He was a famous chef, didn't want to be in that building and associated with Trump.
Huh.
And so he got out of the lease, and they wanted to get paid. And they told him, you know.
So did they end up getting paid?
I don't remember how it went. I don't remember how the lease. So they broke the lease.
Oh.
The restaurant is the one who broke the lease.
Right.
And I imagine Trump
Wanted the money. That's what I'm saying.
Wanted the money.
You don't know if he got it, though?
I don't know.
Oh,
I imagine he didn't, because that was like what
We're
they
gonna
were.
have to do a
Like I said,
follow-up.
it's like if they look at it in the court of law, it's like all those things they were trying to build a case that yes, his brand is something that would break a lease, like his branding and saying the things he does and being associated with him. Like you can't separate the two. That's what I think they were trying to prove. The Trump organization and the man himself and the candidate and all that stuff. So I don't know.
Huh.
And it's just when you say things that, like, you know, insult a lot of people. It's not just the media. You know, maybe the media adds to the outrage, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, that people aren't like, man, because even on my small level, it's not like the media, it was like that made me, you know, have like a bit of a disdain for the Donald Trump character.
Yeah, you just got to watch him on TV. There's nothing to do. Nobody twists it. It's not
Right.
like...
Well, that's the most amazing thing in, you know, you just get these people re-quoting what he says, and then it's like you're starting an argument. You don't even
Right.
put anything else other than
They
just
say
like,
fake news. Motherfucker, he said it.
it's like he said.
Yeah. These fucking...
It's the way that, like, and then those other ones.
It's the same way they stick up for him for telling people to... Dude, the motherfucker was dead ass serious asking that lady.
Yeah, well, the way, and even that interaction, if you really want to break down the wording, it's that he was trying, so it didn't matter. Like, all those things are all true. Like, okay, if anybody wants to drink Clorox, then obviously they're an idiot. Go do it. But it's
Well,
not,
I mean, it would kill the
it's-
virus, but it also will kill you.
Yeah.
So.
oh, that was the good. I did have a good story, bro.
Oh, fucking A. Jesus
And it was,
Christ. Took me long enough to get
It was
out
an
of you.
article. It was one about
How long we been on? Half an hour.
half an hour. We could do another song, but
I love songs.
what I want to tell you is
I'm sorry.
I found it's another one of these Jim Baker type guys, right?
All right.
That has been selling to drink these kind of disinfectants.
Wait, what?
He's been doing it and has a channel and like sells, like he is selling people that it cures cancer and all this
Bleach
stuff.
and shit?
Like drinking these potions, and I gotta find, man.
Oh, he's a snake oil salesman.
A literal one, and what it was saying was that maybe this was where he got the idea. You know?
Oh boy. From the snake oil salesman. He's bringing back the fucking 1700s. One little wagon at a time.
I also stumbled on a clip about the mole people that live beneath the Las Vegas tunnel. They live in the tunnels.
People?
They're people, and they call them the mole people. They're not like creatures. They're actually just like homeless people, but that's where they live.
Like the train kids, kind of? But they don't ride trains. They just live below.
Yeah.
Are these the people that they put out in the parking lot and put like the bright lights on and made squares 6 feet apart from each other? Are those the same people, or are those just homeless people? No,
these are just like, this might even be old, but it's just something
because they did that to the homeless people out there in Vegas.
Something that was interesting.
With all those empty hotels, they put these fuckers in a fucking parking lot 6 feet away from each other. Fill it up. Then they put they had like a little station at the end, and then they put those big floodlight type deals. They pull those little rigs in with the floodlights and keep the parking lot lit up.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
What?
So I don't know, that might be on my other thing. I was just trying to, I thought this was a good one, a good story, and I just wanted to.
Well, you got it.
I'm gonna find it.
Oh,
keep talking for me.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting. I don't even know what I got.
So what else? Hey, it's warm today. We got a warm day. Why don't you tell us about the weather today? Tell us.
I've already done I did a.
Oh, you did a weather update?
Right, I talked about it.
I guess I missed it
2 times. Yes.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, you were reading something. It's fucking 62 degrees out, Ange. It doesn't look like there's going to be any rain, so I don't know, man. Low cloud coverage. Sun keeps poking out, though. So tomorrow's going to be 58, and then we're back into the rain Thursday and Friday. That's what we're doing here. It's the mAng and Neads Show. Well, are they fucking with Fauci again or what?
I'm not sure, man.
Oh.
You know how it goes, though. It's funny because part of that Brad Pitt sketch was that if
you know what I saw all right. I can't remember if it was last night or this morning because I turned it somehow. I found AON on accident.
Okay. On accident.
I did.
It was luring you in because it knew you liked the stuff.
No, I found it on accident because I was at 3-something and I was going down, and then there it was, so I had to stop. And they were spinning it how...
Oh, dude, it's a Vic Burger. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How Fauci flipped his thing the whole way, how he came out first and said, no, we don't need to do anything with the restrictions, and then he was all over it. Yeah, they were spinning it about him saying that he's bad, and it's all like... Yeah, but it was on AON, and I thought it was funny. I think it was this morning, actually. But, yeah, they don't like Fauci. They were spinning it from it being Trump's fault to being Fauci's fault because he agreed with Trump saying that in March that we didn't really need to lock down yet. So what'd you find? Vic Burger.
Okay, I found the guy, man. I found this dude that's and it's funny because it's a Vic Burger video.
It is?
Yeah, so this is MMS and...
Oh, it's real Vic Burger, though?
Vic Burger made a video about the guy, just like he does with Jim Baker, about this guy that is pushing this on and trying to get... He's like, wears a safari hat. I'm going to bring it up here. I just got to find the right one.
What's that other guy's name? The dude that did what's that, Balsacki or something? What's that guy's name? Fucking...
I gotta find the name of, and I'll just pull up his.
What's the name of that guy that did the Garfield assassination dude, the Taft guy or whatever, from the commune up in Utica?
Fuck it. I'm gonna put this up. Wait, I'm sorry. What's that? Go again. Go again. I was trying to pull something up, man. You know, I'm not good at like balancing stuff.
What is that guy's name that did that little like video thing? Of the guy that shot Garfield there. Was it the
Oh yeah, that was Oneida.
Yeah. What's that guy's name though that does
man,
the videos?
Sam Onella.
Sam Onella. All right.
Sam Onella. It's a good one. Check that out.
Right, we got to find. Or does he? He does more though, right? He does all kinds, right? No.
All right, here's the guy, dude. If you pull it up. Curing prostate cancer, brain cancer, autism. G2 voice, this guy.
Huh.
Wait, I can't hear it. You can now.
That's what the date is based on. So this is what I wrote to the President. Dear Mr. President, Sir, I pray that this letter get to you and find you well. I am praying you read this letter and intervene and look into the FDA attacking our church and its sacraments by calling them fraudulent. It seems if you mention anything can rid the body of COVID-19 not approved by the FDA, you get attacked. I wrote 2 books about what we've been doing. I enclosed my first book for you. I sent him the ebook. There is so much evidence proving it is a wonderful detox through oxidation that can kill 99% of the pathogens in the body.
And I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute.
One minute.
And is there a way we can do something like that?
Maybe
by injection
Lord.
inside or almost a
light up
cleaning.
your
As
ass.
you see, it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that.
Dude, so the thing that's crazy is that literally 4 days later, he's talking that shit that this guy is.
So the hands
they rub it in.
could have a very good effect. So that I said, well,
I'm going
how
to
do we
eat
do
one
it
of these
inside the body
Clorox
or even
wipes.
outside the body with the hands and disinfectant, I think would work. I think it's a great thing to look at. That's
I
all
think we
have.
should
I'm just
check
here
it
to
out,
present
Ange. We should get a
talent.
guinea
I'm
pig.
here to present ideas because I'm the president and you're fake news.
He's not a doctor.
All right, thanks, Vic Berger. Sorry, don't get mad at us for using your video. We're just like trying to, promote you too. Go to Vic Berger, man.
Vic
he has
Berger.
got some great stuff. And he just adds like these sounds and visuals that I think are that are pretty cool. Yeah, I mean down the road for sure.
We'll call him up and talk to him. This is him talking?
Oh no, the one who's talking right
good.
now actually is the. Oh shit! I was just going to talk about that because I get all
Who
these.
was that guy talking?
Okay, so before
This that guy fucking.
Dude, you want to know what? That's the same voice from that video that you came in and showed me about the China guy. Same voice.
It is?
That's where that's what I instantly said. Listen to this guy's voice. All right, real quick.
Timed yourself for a full month for just a single
The
dollar.
same guy telling that China
All
story.
right, that's that fucking commercial where he said we're over here and the people came in and like bum rushed it. Like
yeah. So this. All right. So
that guy's has
this
annoying
is an ad.
voice.
Okay, this is an ad that comes on
All
before
the
so many
fucking
videos
time.
that I watch, and he's like, "Yo, did you guys hear about this?"
No,
they were
motherfucker.
He's like, he instantly is always like, everybody's saying that Trump made a bad decision with doing this, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's like, "Well, here's the Epic Times, Epic Times EP." I don't even care to
He's
fucking
the
promote
fucking
it.
news.
But he's
right?
like,
yeah,
but he's
it's
another
bullshit.
one. He's another one of these like smart guys that
Shoved his
that
dick in a
disguises his bigotry and hatred and like these are the guys that like if you put them in charge, the whole world would be at war.
Right.
But on top of that, it makes me think that it's like he's disingenuous because he it's one, and I've actually looked into this one, and it's just one of these perfect.
He's a fuckhead. It sounds like to me.
He is, man.
Fuck him.
Can
right?
you hear him? Oh no, we turned him down. Yeah. So but that was what was funny is that video that I got linked to.
Yeah.
And that we watched about how they were accusing China of the bat, and
that's
whether
bullshit. I mean,
but that was the first thing I noticed was that
voice is the same.
It was the voice of a guy that was like, I'm so much smarter than you, and I'm going to tell you how stupid you are because you don't know about this stuff, which we're the only ones telling you about, which means we don't really have any credibility.
See, my whole thing with all that shit is like, I don't give a flying fuck where it came from. We got a problem. Let's figure out the problem.
Yeah,
you know
and
what
then
I mean?
exactly,
like,
and then
these
deal with it later.
Or well, deal with it as soon as we can. But like, we don't need to go to the root of the problem right now. That's not really like
right. We need to get to the solution.
Yeah. What the fuck? What are you gonna do? Go back and fuck up the problem, but you still have or fuck up what caused the problem, but you still have the problem? What? That makes no sense at all, really. You know what I mean? The problem's already out here. So,
yeah. So I mean, that whole thing.
So do we have a name on that guy?
I don't even want to. I wouldn't even want to say his name. I mean, I guess it would keep you from like anybody that wants to question it. I don't know, man. Whatever. What do I know?
You don't know.
I could be the wrong one, and this is the.
That don't matter.
But to me, it just seems like extremely one-sided news, and just a bunch of balagny.
Sounds like he's a ball licker.
He's a trumpet.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, he definitely does tongue to butthole. What else we got? That's your cue, Warner. Tongue to...
oh, that was a... yeah, that's a good one, too.
What do you got?
No, nothing.
You got something in there?
That's it, man.
What was a good one?
I pulled the Vic Burger up. It was just went to the next thing.
Yeah, private picture.
So I don't know what that guy's name was, but yeah, that guy was pushing. I guess yeah. You know what? I want to go to that.
What, the religion?
That's the guy I want to find out who he is.
What, the religion guy?
Exactly what he was saying because he's seen that. Yeah.
The guy that wants you to drink the fucking diluted bleach?
Yeah, I want to know who he is.
Well, yeah, we'll do a. Yeah, find out who he is.
I think we got a name on it.
I'll put a name on it. Oh, yeah. The COVID Kid.
Right here. G2.
Mang and Neads Show, man.
It's
Sonic Garden Radio Live. We got a phone number.
G2 Voice.
Call us up if you want to chat with us. It's scrolling right through. I see it. 607. It's right here.
Yeah.
607 373 Heat. That's with a H. Heat. Call us up. If you have a friend, why don't you tell them check us out. If they like it, they can subscribe. If they don't, they can give us a thumbs down. Thumbs
there
down.
He is.
What? I've been here.
Oh my God.
Oh. What happened? You seen Jesus?
Dude, this guy doesn't even have... No, that's from somebody else.
He found Jesus, folks.
All right, here we go. G2 Voice. We're gonna listen to this guy. This is
He has come.
This is the guy.
What is it?
This is that guy that was pushing
what's his name? This is him?
They're playing some cool music on there.
Oh, I thought he was a singer. Oh, boy.
This is his podcast. Shut up. It can't even be, right? I gotta turn that off. They're gonna give me...
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
I'm waiting, Ange.
I think that is it.
I was hoping for fireworks or something. I don't even like fireworks, but I was hoping. So, yeah, let's hear another video of that guy with the potions. Everybody likes a little potion.
All right, we're getting Warner in on this one.
Oh, Jesus. The pranker chief, boy.
You are live on the Mang and Neads Show, sir.
Hey, man, I get the the tongue to butthole cue. I was told that's the that's the signal. I got
that was the signal.
That was the signal today.
I was like, here it is.
Did you see what I had just pulled up? That we found this guy that was pushing the that his broadcast was about drinking this disinfectant, gets rid of
Yeah, was he?
He's a real live human. Was he out of Florida? He might have been.
They say.
So I looked it up, and it was G2 Voice is the name of.
Do I got to get on the bottom of this?
I'm gonna play it right now.
All right.
Well, I saw the guy, but there's another one.
Find some other place, a club, become a member of, because
and like they've
don't
taken
want to
action. Like dude got
Plus, the
arrested
church
also, and it might be the
separates
same
you
guy that
from
just
government.
runs a church that also has a podcast.
statutes and codes.
But a church was selling,
That's really important. That's not why we did it.
yeah,
I was
basically.
a missionary.
Arthritis, cancer, all this stuff.
Well, it was like a 3-part mixture. Like you're supposed to take, they sell you bottles of stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's
then you
right.
drip
I'm pulling it
3
right up on
drips
the
into
screen
the
right
water.
now.
Right. It's something you can make
but
at
it's
home.
made industrial bleach.
Yeah, but it's water.
Something
They
sulfuric
water it
oxide,
down.
some crazy shit. Where's Josh?
Water
Josh,
it down.
where are you, man?
Oh, you can't hear him?
Can't hear me. They water it
Nope.
down.
Some
Tell him not to worry. I've been
suckers.
running my mouth the whole time.
Yeah, don't worry. Everybody's talking. Here, let me try that again. What about now, Ryan?
Can you hear me now?
How about now?
Hey,
No.
What about now?
what about now?
Yeah, buddy.
All
I
right.
got you in the room.
You had
Same
your
thing.
You had your fingers in your ears instead of your butt.
I
A
had
lot
to
of butt talk. A lot of butt talk on this
Yeah,
one.
fuck
I know,
it. Hey,
jeez.
man, we want to change the mood. You said, so we've
You're
changed
doing
it.
it.
We've got it changed.
All right, I'm going to
Change
read
my
this.
mood.
Hold on, I want to read this out loud. This card significant.
All right. What
This
do you?
card
Hey,
signifies.
Donald.
This card signifies that the member of the Genesis 2 Church of Health and Healing has the God-given, unalienable right to control and maintain their personal health. All members are exempt from any means not chosen, including but not limited to vaccinations, medications, x-rays, scans, microchip implants, or health insurance mandated by any human government or authority.
All right.
The Genesis 2 Church members have the God-given, unalienable right to choose products for their health, including but not limited to food, plants, vitamins, minerals, herbs, and all remedies in the quantities they consider useful or necessary for his personal growth,
This fucking guy.
health, the health
Wow.
of his or her family, and to do all that desire to help with their health. All members have the right to freely acquire these products for the health of themselves, members of the Genesis 2 Church, and for all that desire help with their health.
Man, if you believe in Jesus, they'll let you fucking
To
sell
maintain
anything, dude.
Such products at their place of abode or wherever they deem necessary. Note, the Genesis 2 Church will vigorously prosecute any and all persons who violate the religious rights of all members of our church. If any of this member's rights are violated, he or she will contact the Genesis 2 Church.
Tell him to get fucked.
In a world.
What the fuck, dude?
In a world where someone tries to defy the order of the Genesis 2
All right, so hey, coming out of that, let's listen to him.
Because the number one killer, cause of death in America and in the first world countries.
Sounds like he drank the
civilized
bleach
world,
before he got the mixture right, Edge.
Allergen.
Burn his throat.
which means death by doctor, or
Death
by
by
doctor's
doctor.
advice and following their advice. Number one. Isn't that crazy?
Incredible.
Don't ask the doctors. Check it out yourself. I hate to say this, but I have to say this. We're lazy.
Well, no shit.
Average person is lazy and they just want to go and say, what do I take? Tell me what I take. He looks up in his book, the physician's desktop reference, or another medical book, or a medical journal, say, well, this has been seen to work. This medication, this drug, and those are the real drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis is not a drug. That was scheduled as a narcotic because to keep it away, because the pain, it kills pain. It does.
Pharmacies are called drugstores.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
MF spitting.
Go to the drugstore.
In pharmacy.
So, yeah, man. So this guy's got these 3 bottles, as everybody can see on his desk here.
Yep.
And that's what he's selling. So that's what you were talking about, Ryan?
Yep, that's
Also,
the guy.
you knew about it, yeah.
Yeah, it was just pitched a little different. Like I didn't know he had a podcast. They just talked about the church, and
Yeah.
that's like the main. Obviously one of the biggest things in fear mongering is health, right? There's like the 2 biggest things are your health, your personal health, and your physical health, right? So like protection from being beat up or the risk of being beat up or robbed or whatever, physical harm, and then
Did we get-
protection from health, and that's where you get the most people exploiting you, you know? So this whole church is based around the fact that they let you know all the things that could go wrong, arthritis and all that stuff. And they're like, but here's the cure for everything. And they get them all to believe it, man. It's crazy to have that. That's what their religion is based around. They're like, we have the antidote. Yeah, dude. But it's predatory. And it's sad, man. You know, all these, it's the pranker chief, dude. It's the pranker chief. I looked into that after we talked.
Selling something, man.
The way they do it is once they get your address, they got you. Right. And if you're dumb enough to order the pranker chief, then you're going to believe the next piece of mail.
Right.
And they do money exchanges. They'll send you $1 and ask you to
these
keep
guys
$1
just
in
go
your
after
pocket and pray on it.
They just
pray
go
on
after
that
religious
$1. Pray
people,
on that
though,
$1.
right?
Pray on that seed. And then send that $1 back to us with $37.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, and you have to let go of that money because it's the fact that you want money, that you're scraping up all the little money you have
to send it.
That's where your attention is. That's where your fault is in life. So you need to give that money up. You need to give it up freely, and it's going to come back to you. But you have to give it up, and it's $37 because it represents these numbers and this chapter and whatever, and the chapter says whatever, and you can make anything say what you want it to when it's the language in the Bible. But it's huge, and it's everyone does it. All these guys, man, the Jim Browns, all of that same thing. They have this back and forth mail program where they're like, send us this money back, and then they send you a check, and then you need to write a check out to them, and you need to keep this check and frame it and do whatever.
It's all about bullshit. So hey, listen to this.
$3.
Listen to this one. So you scroll down below this video, and there's some comments, and I just wanted to read a couple of them because I thought, this is.
How do you do that? How do you see how do you do the comments?
Oh, you scroll to the bottom, like when you're on YouTube?
Underneath the play next videos?
Yeah, like if you way at the bottom. Yeah, you got to scroll.
Mine ends with videos. I've got it in the small screen, but anyway.
Yeah, so I got one that's I'll just read them. So this is from a lady 4 months ago. Hello there. I wonder if I can use colloidal silver on this protocol. Thanks.
So she was going to use Collodipin.
And then the response from the thing was, please contact Mark at Genesis 2 Church. He'll guide you through it. And then another guy commented, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I've been using both together for years, and I've never felt better. Good luck. Wow. And then another comment, hi, guys. I had bought from a friend 2 bottles.
Dude.
One of which is 50% citric acid, and the other bottle is 25% sodium chloride.
Yeah.
Will this work the same as MMS? As I noticed that you mentioned sodium chloride at 22%. And will the 25% work? Okay, thanks. You are 1,000% right on everything you say.
They're getting jacked up.
Wow, dude.
They're out there cooking meth and fucking giving you the water afterwards.
See, I don't know what it does. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I'm sure, we got chlorine in our tap water.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, diluted a little bit, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's not like
that's sodium chloride.
These fucking people.
Yeah.
Then you got the guy that's running our country going on live TV asking a fucking doctor about it.
And that was back where I brought this video in, was that he was not like joking. He
was not joking at all. I don't give a.
He was trying to be the smartest guy in the room because he watched this, which I just want to add that if this is the origination of it, it only has 290 views.
Jesus.
Like this isn't even like a anything big time.
See, that's what happens when you're connected with these people.
Months ago.
When you're connected with these people that are so connected, think they're connected with God, man. All you have to do is mention that shit in something or whatever, and then that is a way to get them in the door, and then you latch out. These guys that know how to fucking sell bullshit. Dude, they're putting chlorine in water and selling it to people. Come on.
YouTube must not be where they get their stuff.
You and I can do that.
Because they have minimal views on YouTube. Like, seriously, like 40 views on their videos.
We get Warner and go fucking... Dude, we can get him a whole dialogue to go talking about Jesus and shit, and we can sell something. Holy
Send
fuck.
me around, dude. Send me around to
Right?
the houses.
I'm
Me and JB, dude.
Yeah, JB, you can heal him on site. Look, he can't talk. You make him drink, and then he
Oh,
can
here
talk
we are,
English.
man. This
What?
was the one.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Letter to the president.
Oh, there's more. They like reggae, huh?
I guess so. Oh, you can hear it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh, in my ears. In my
Yo.
ears. That's our next drinking game. Next time
talk
Josh complains about his ears.
about bullshit on that. Sucks you in with that reggae, and you're like, yeah,
Right.
it talks about that's a rough one.
They're picking you up. Here, drink some Clorox, motherfucker, to clean you out.
Oh, Ange,
1%.
the guy you were talking about right before I called, the butt licker, the had his tongue hole, or his butthole licked. The Epoch Times.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It comes
said
up.
they're
He
reading.
he puts ads up on anything you're watching, any podcast, like
That is left or progressive, or because that's why
conspiracy
I see him so much.
theory or anything like that. And he's a mole, dude. He's you were the
sounds
only
like
other person
one.
that like said it also. He is a Trump supporter, but he doesn't come out like that, and it's not even he's almost like it's just weird, man. He's like, look, I take an equal look at both sides. He's like, we don't do
fucking douchebag.
we don't pick sides here. This is just straight up news, and like you said, no one's reporting it because you can't verify stories that they report. But anyway, he seems to take an approach at this is what's really going on. Did you know this? Did you know that?
I'm really smart. I really can't stand those guys. It's like the Ben Shapiro, just because he talks really fast and he can have a debate, but with like an average man. It's like
But can he say fuck 20 times?
No,
in a row?
it's like somebody that like took a couple like fighting courses and they can like beat up everybody in their neighborhood, but when they go to like the big time,
they can only use that one move.
Right, they got the one move, and when they go to the big time, they get swept up, which is like how I see that like little weaselly Ben Shapiro.
Tell me about Ben Shapiro. It's not really ringing a bell. Tell me about him.
Oh man, well,
tell me about who is he?
All right, Ben's like, here's the thing.
Throw a picture up or something.
I'll tell you that Ben got his like name from being a guy that stood up against any form, being a young conservative that stands up against like the liberal outrage. So he's like,
is he on the TV? So
like he's the guy that is bitching about you cannot call yourself a man if you're born a woman, and there's only two genders, and God created, and he talks really fast, and it's like very technical, and he does these speeches, and people, kids, students would ask him a question about something, and he would just like cut them up, and those were the start of his videos, and now he has a whole station and channel, and he's got other guys that join in that have the same smug think they're smarter than everybody else.
He was a fucking former attorney,
think that
huh?
Poor people are stupid.
He's younger than us,
They don't have
Ange?
the ability. Yeah, definitely.
36 or so?
Yeah, fuck. And he's just one of them guys that just really, just really gets under my skin.
He looks like a fucking
so anybody that like
toe toucher.
Anybody that shares something he puts, or he's right up there with like most disgusting.
So he was
people on the in the press.
This guy at 17 was the youngest nationally syndicated columnist in the United States at 17.
Ben Shapiro was?
Yeah. He's a public speaker, an author, political commentator, and a former attorney. So there's your smart, where he gets his smart, where he thinks he's smarter than everybody. His attorney.
Well, a lot of it, Andrew's right, a lot of it is in the way you talk, and that's why it's like it's off-putting to a lot of people.
Yeah, like I just gave somebody shit.
I don't know him.
I just gave somebody shit on a post. Like I really try not to, but when I see something that I just like,
can you tell us?
They correct your.
Can you tell me all about it?
And then I get like fully attacked as far as like my this and that. And,
all right, tell us the whole story then.
All right, so the deal
tell
was.
us the whole. Oh, here we go.
No, I want to hear this.
A podcast that has people talking.
No,
You're
so
going to talk on it.
All right, so it's a typical.
What in the fuck is going on in here?
So
what the fuck?
You got Ryan?
I'm here, man.
Revor just came in because he was coming to get his
doesn't have his fucking
so he can do some home broadcasting. Sonic's Corner.
How you doing?
Better be wearing a mask.
All right.
Hey, brother.
Would-
So let me tell you. I'll tell you this story while we got Josh occupied to not interrupt me. So a post came
Nice.
out. I'm not going to say
Easy.
exactly word for word what it said, but I can catch the one term that was like that was irate to me. Okay, and so
I
it's
want to know the whole post.
it's like a meme post. You want me to like pull it up?
Or no, just read it to me.
Okay,
I want to know what it.
I can do that actually.
Well, I mean,
Man, how did he end up interrupting? I thought this was Josh Free.
I thought I had a minute, but he was back at it.
motherfucker.
All right, let me.
No,
tell
I
you.
just want to know what we're talking about. I want to know how.
Hey, Josh, I want to know when we're going to change your background picture back to the Mount
Okay, so
Rushmore
all right, so this is
with
so,
6 people.
Oh.
So I just want to say,
Yeah,
so like,
listen.
so here you go. I'm gonna read a statement, and
All
you
right.
tell me like where it stands.
Tell me
as
how
far
dumb,
as, like,
how dumb from 1 to
Nah,
10
I
is
mean-
a person, or
yeah,
go ahead,
or how smug, how self-righteous, how full of judgment, etc.
All right,
Okay.
let's hear it.
A society that kills 1 million babies a year for convenience has shut itself down to prevent adults from dying. And to make matters worse, the people who celebrate the mass slaughter of children are now preaching about the sacred value of human life. The whole thing is sick.
Wow.
All right.
I. There's a lot of ways to attack this motherfucker.
Well, like I said,
Well, hey,
so-
he's got a point, man. I think about that every time I attend those abortion parties. You know what I mean? Where everyone's like,
when we
"Fucking
celebrate.
A, Kim, number 6, baby. You know, yeah, I do feel guilty. I'm like, man, this is not.
Where,
We shouldn't be celebrating these.
I mean, like if someone
Yeah,
has to
you're
have
full
an
of shit.
abortion, then they have to have an abortion. It's not like, oh, we've had 5 healthy kids. This one's going to be healthy too. Let's fucking do it in. These fucking stupid motherfuckers. Obviously, there's a situation that they can't have the baby, or it's not good to bring the baby into the world because maybe they can't take care of it. But that's none of their business. Like
It's actually, and then if you want to go deeper into God, then again, that's nobody else's business, and that's between the person who
if a
is
lady,
clearly.
so basically, so it's a lady's choice. Ladies have to do it. I'm not
and
a
again,
lady.
And if you're religious,
Even if I
then
was
that's
a
some-
lady,
yeah,
I wouldn't be telling my friend if she's a lady and I'm a lady. I wouldn't be telling my friend, oh, you can't have this, or you better go ahead and do this. Fuck that. Do what the hell you need to do. What is the best for your whole situation in life? Like if it has to be, then do it. If it doesn't have to be, then don't do it. But
Right, and that's
who are these people to fucking? That is this. I hate it when they bring up that shit about that. Like that has nothing to do with like being able to save an adult or a 6-year-old. Like it's a whole different situation. They're here. Like it's like, come on, man.
So to
Go ahead.
me, it's like, yeah, exact. I mean, dude, I'm with you. I'm with your outrage. I kind of like, whatever, as far as like saying to them, look, man, you're a person right now that is trying to disguise your bigotry and your judgment as righteousness, which is directly against, I mean, both sides. Like that's what they're claiming. But for someone to use the words celebrate the mass slaughter, like anybody, and then so they automatically, it's one of those.
That sounds like a quote from Hitler.
That's what I'm
dude.
saying. It's a disingenuous comment that makes, so who is the one being an asshole?
So you said something to this post?
Yeah, so my response was like,
Wait a minute. That wasn't Ben Shapiro. Someone said that on a
no,
post on your post?
listen. No, that was a meme. All right.
Okay,
From
okay.
a guy named Matt Walsh. So you see his face and you see that he made it, and then people share it. You know?
Right. And you happen to know someone that shared it.
Yeah, and what I always do with stuff like that is I read the words and I look at it like, if righteous Jesus was standing here and he wanted to convey that it breaks his heart to see, babies being aborted. Whatever the case is, he wouldn't have said it like that. He wouldn't have been so divisive and attacking. And that's the part that is so hypocritical of a lot of these religions, is that it's supposed to be sharing love, not I'm better than these people because I believe this, And either way, so it's like a smug judgment, but either way, the guy's name's Matt Walsh. I click on him. He's part of the Ben Shapiro network.
Ooh.
So I nailed it right on the line, like from the moment I saw it, that this guy is just like Ben Shapiro. He insults everyone's intelligence. He talks really fast and says things that are disguised as righteousness, but they are, bigotry and just plain insensitive at times. Not that I'm like, crying about it, but it's insensitive.
I feel you, man.
To say that to someone, and if it was you, and if it was your sister or your mother, and then they'd say, well, my mother wouldn't behave like that, or my sister wouldn't do that because we are of the better breed. The people that don't do those things, and therefore it's, like I said, judgment, which is the thing that pushed most of us younger generations away from standard religions anyway. Whip.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I my thing about their claims, with abortion and where their talking points and everything like that, it's not equal with their response to helping people that can't afford a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like the same people that are against abortions are also against welfare.
Right, and that's another. That's
specifically child care. So take care of your own child. I take care of my kids.
And that was even so I got it was even to the point where one guy replied to my comment, because my comment back was like, I've never killed a baby. This is to use the term celebrating the mass slaughter, is like I said, was disingenuous. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, your guy Bernie is for late-term abortions, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm being attacked that my beliefs are that I have some, like, number in my head that, like, allows someone to be, like, what are they even talking about? Like, that's not me. And then it's like, oh, and then somebody else is like, when I say you can't put people in a box based on who they like as a candidate for, like, the president, like, that's not fair. Like it is if that's your whole right. So then all of a sudden somebody kicks back telling me everything that I watch, everything that I believe, whether it's abortion, immigration, because I bring up the fact that you people don't care about, kids being put in cages because they're called illegals, but you care about, so it's all back and forth. It's all back and forth of it's like, what are they talking about?
They suck dick and smoke meth, probably. So,
well, I mean, share of that to go around. So either way, it was just one of those ones where it like turns into a thing where it's like I don't have, whatever. But the bottom line is that post was somebody trying to be righteous, saying like, in the eyes of God, I am.
Was it a smart motherfucker?
I mean, again, you always say that, but I don't judge people. I don't know people's IQ levels, so maybe if I did, then I would treat people differently.
Well, see, here's it was on the St. Joe Rogan podcast I was talking about.
Who?
But it was the one with the Rogan.
Oh.
It was Duncan Trussell, Rogan, and a third guy that was the psychologist or whatever. He looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay. Really, really good podcast, like 3 hours long. That dude said something. He said the reoccurring theme that he keeps having, or that he keeps talking about, is that narratives are popular because it's like a powerful and precise message. You know what I mean? Like a certain narrative, like fake news, the narrative of fake news. It's so convenient and it fits, and you can make things fit into it. And what's happening more and more is the narratives are getting like smaller, like the grouping is getting smaller, like Donald Trump is reducing his words.
Right.
You know what I mean? To where he says less, and it's the same thing. He's reinforcing the same thing. And the reason they're so popular and they're so powerful is because they keep the party that's in control. It justifies their actions, and that's why the same narratives will keep coming up. So they need, like, even though it's bad on humanity to make other people hate someone that got an abortion. You know, that they say there's no justifiable reason for an abortion, so you should hate that person, and you should also know that evil exists in the world.
Right.
You know, they're preaching that evil exists. That evil didn't exist, man. She was a 16-year-old girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? It would have just ruined her life and another life, and it's just, you know, like 16-year-old girl. There's no evil. There's just ignorance. And yeah, it's a shameful thing and it's tough, but she's got to live with that.
Right.
But anyway, they would rather convince you that the evil satanic bitch that got that abortion, you know, that, and they're spreading the evil. They create the evil right there where
Right.
it didn't exist before.
But
now it does. So they manifest it into being because it fits into their narrative, because they need to make you think that there's people out there that do that. And now our whole side does it. You know, if you stand up for that girl, now you're evil and you're into that sick shit. You know, and it's just not, but it keeps the powers that are here, it keeps them in charge, pushing that narrative, making sure that they find things to fit into that. We are evil, we're going to take over the world and kill babies, you know, and it's sad. Hey, speaking about,
in 5 minutes.
What'd you say?
We'll be ready in 5 minutes.
Okay,
awesome.
Thanks, bud.
5 minutes, brah. Yeah, so I always like, even that topic, it's always been a you know, one of those things that it's hard to describe because, you know, it's not me, but it's not like my life or like what I think about all the time. But what like, I liked it because Ram Dass was asked that once in a lecture, and he said, in short, was that you know, if you are a person that like believes in God or religion or in the same righteousness that you are accusing, basically what he's saying is that it was going to happen either way. So like, even if the abortion was like fate, either way, like if they didn't, then it might have happened anyway through a miscarriage, and if it didn't happen, then it wasn't meant to happen. So it was just back on the whole, you know.
It's funny because that's how stories in the Bible go, man. You warn someone that something's going to happen, so maybe not in the Bible, but it's that one story of the dude, and he's foretold that his son is going to kill him, so he throws the baby away, but then the person who was supposed to throw the baby away didn't, and he was raised in a nearby town, and that dude grew up. And
Moses?
Moses.
No, dude grew up in a nearby town, and then he grew up when he was like 19, strapping young lad, goes and visits the town where he's originally from, just didn't know it.
Oh, Frankie.
Where the king
Oh, that
threw
was
him away.
Frankie.
Wait.
And then you know who falls in love with him is his own mother.
Right.
So then he starts having an affair.
Oh.
You know, the queen starts cheating on the king with her son. You know, obviously she doesn't know it either. And then she's like, look, man, you know, let's run away together, you know, but we can't. They'll try to find us unless you kill the king. So the son kills the king and then gets recognized by the person who was supposed to, take the baby away.
Baby.
And of course, the person who takes the baby away is probably like this queen's right-hand girl, you know,
right.
Like and she's like, oh my God, I have to tell you something. You know, I never, you know, we didn't throw your baby away.
You've been
I
fucking
gave him to
your
so-and-so.
son.
And so she's like, you've been banging your son. And
Wang out.
and she's like, oh my God, you know, she's like, this is the worst thing in the world. So
Oh,
she
no.
stabs. Oh my God, I wasn't ready. So she stabbed her eyes out, her own eyes.
The
She
queen?
stabbed her own eyes out. The
Oh.
queen, yep. and
still
then
get
she just like
banged.
wandered the earth or whatever. I don't know what happened after that.
Her son was her eyes.
The moral of the story is,
don't
like,
bang your
even though
fucking
you're
kids.
warned of what your future is going to, what's going to happen, you taking preventative measures is almost going to make it happen because it was meant to happen. You know what I mean? Like they don't get foretold the future because it's going to change. But anyway, it's like if that's not what was meant to happen, it's going to happen anyway. Like she should just let it be.
She should have just got banged by her son.
I heard a story that I liked, a real quick one.
All
Real
right.
quick one.
Story time now.
It is.
Story time now.
Let me get my blanket out.
This elderly, older couple was walking on the beach. They're on their 40 years they've been together, and they come across a
sons of
little
bitches.
shiny thing. They come across a little shiny thing in the sand.
Right.
So they dig it up, and it's a genie bottle.
Fucking A.
They fucking rub that genie, right?
Yeah. They did.
Out comes the genie, and he's like, man, thank you so much. I want to get out.
Him and Jesus.
I've been wanting to get out. You guys saved me. Each get one wish. So the wife says, I wish that I could be on a cruise liner sailing the ocean.
Why the fuck would that be your first wish?
To celebrate my 40th anniversary with my husband and all that stuff. And they go there, and they're all having a great time. There's lots of people. Everything's great. They're suddenly on the cruise
And the
ship.
genie's with them.
Genie's with them. And he's like, okay, it's your tune. So they're probably about 70-year-olds couple.
Yeah, this is a good one.
And the man, he's like, it's his turn, and he's sitting there thinking, and he says, I wish that I was right here, right now, only with a woman that was 30 years younger.
Oh, yeah. He says.
And then poof, the man was 100 years old.
And his wife.
Nice.
Boom.
You fucker.
Yeah. Backfired. Old shrivel dick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got a song for you here.
All right.
I'm going to give you guys the intro song in full from the video. That is Uncle Uku and the Guise.
Oh, yeah.
Bruises, live at Sonic Gardens.
Been waiting all day for this one, Ange.
This is a good one.
This was the beginning tickler we had, a little teaser at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Sonic Gardens Radio, mAng
Neads Show.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, buddy.
You gonna stay on?
Stay on.
Yeah.
them dictate your life. You can't let them say what's right. In the end, you own all you've ever done, and it may shape your mind. The bruises on my back, made by your mouth, for the things you wanna scream won't let out. The bruises on my back, made by your mouth, for the things you wanna scream won't let out. Bruises on my back, made by your mouth, for the things you wanna scream won't let out. Bruises on my back, made by your mouth, for the things you wanna scream won't let out.
All right.
Jesus.
And here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back
Yeah.
in the studio at our Sonic Garden studio in Norwich, New York. You're listening to the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio.
Sounds like he spent a bad couple of years with someone. Jesus.
He had some...
Fucking, hey. This sounds
That's a
like
good one, man. Bruises.
Yeah,
Bruises on
I
my
didn't
back
realize
made
it
by
was-
your mouth. Man.
Yeah, I didn't realize it's so personable until we
But man, what a jam. That was
got
some
right
good
into
stuff.
it.
That was a fun experience for sure.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So everybody out there, anybody listening new, you know, we do banter, we do music, we talk about some current events, we talk about some past events, and you know, whatever else to keep it going. Trying to build up this channel. We got a lot of different stuff happening, and just trying to keep it rolling, waiting for some clearance so we can start playing some music again, making some new recordings, and keeping this thing going.
15 days, right?
Yeah, man.
Or 16.
15. Wait, Ryan, you still with us?
Oh, what?
He hung up on us. Maybe I'm just sitting here whining.
No, he's there. He was.
Oh,
just
he was?
He was just talking.
I hung up on him.
You did?
I thought he went to dinner.
Nah, he was just talking, saying something about the 5 minutes. You cut him off mid sentence.
All right, I'm gonna call him back, and he's gonna be like, "Oh man."
Yeah, he's going back to dinner.
There we go.
Dickie.
Yo,
What
Sorry.
happened?
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had your thing down because you were muted.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm still here. It's funny
As I
because I
shut you
was
down.
just saying that I forgot I got the 5-minute warning.
Yeah, that was
Right.
like before the song. Yeah. I
Yeah, the
know.
boy came up and told me. I'm like, yeah, I got nothing to do. I'm just
know,
stuck
right?
here working.
Right.
We both forgot in that 30
Yeah,
seconds.
me too. We all forgot. But she just.
I
she just
remembered right
hollered,
as I
man.
said it, and then I muted you, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
actually,
he was
he's
talking.
hanging up." But
Yeah,
then,
he was doing.
Yeah, it's funny though.
Nice.
But yeah, so I do have to go. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to be rude, so I hung out. Plus,
Cool.
listening to the song,
Oh, yeah.
win-win.
Win-win.
But I do got to go. But listen, when I call up, I wanna ask you guys a question, see what your thoughts about, Josh is, oh, here we go. So Ange, but the premise behind Midnight Gospel. And have you seen the Lego video game?
I guess, you mean like the
How it
movie?
works.
What do you mean the Lego
Nope.
video game?
Okay, so it's a video game like a
Like
whatever
there's
PlayStation.
Batman, there's like all kinds of different Lego ones. That's
Well,
a big
this
part.
is just build your own stuff. It's all Legos.
Oh, okay, okay.
But what it is it looks like the beginning of Midnight Gospel, to where you go through planets that are in orbit, and they're all different weird ass planets.
Oh,
They're
cool!
all,
and you can scroll.
the only
through
thing
and
they
pick.
have in common is that they're a sphere, but they are like tiny. So when the dude, like your little Lego guy, and it's very well animated, it looks just like a real Lego guy.
Right.
So when he can run around the entire planet, given that it's not like water and stuff like that, in about 20 seconds, right? So it's like that big, like, so you can see like the curve of the planet. But anyway, there's bricks that represent water, and they actually act like water. Like you pile them up and you can dive into them. You can make 3-dimensional block of water that you run and dive into sideways.
Oh.
But it's all Legos, so you got to choose from your pieces and build all this stuff. But here's how it works. And this is what I want to talk about sometime at some point. I just think it's super interesting. But
Yeah.
so the way it works is once you build these planets, like you can build your own planet. You put whatever you want on it, mountains and crazy stuff and houses and anything that's ever been used in the Lego world, you could copy and paste it onto your own planet.
What is that?
Right.
And you can remove blocks and build stuff, and it's literally it's like Minecraft,
Right.
just a little more detailed. But
Like the Sims.
so once you
SimCity.
build it, what's that?
SimCity. Remember that?
Yeah. That
Right.
was like, yeah.
It has that quality to it, to where you can do that sort of thing. But once you build it, it exists,
Right.
and other people can visit it. Other people, when they
Right.
log in, they can go to your planet.
Oh.
and they can
Right, that's
alter
like
it.
that's with all of it, like Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox is another one, which is like not the Lego, but they did like an app that like got really popular, and it's like Roblox is like a spin-off of Legos, but they came out with a video game that got kids playing, so like they kind of
Nice.
dominated that like app, the whole app game, which is the same thing. It's like a Minecraft version of
Well-
like it doesn't sound as cool as what you're saying necessarily, but it was
Well, no, it's just the way
yeah.
I say it, bro.
you can go to any world though, like you can go to like Playland, or you can go to whatever in that particular game.
You can do that. You eat enough acid.
But what you're
Well, see,
saying
now
from
that's what I
Midnight
mean. Now,
Gospel is like the intro is that he's scrolling through everything
Right.
that's similar, is that it's a they're all Earth, but it's like Earth
Right.
in like
Earth
this,
64, Earth
Yeah.
76,
Earthling.
and they're all
245.
slightly different.
But that's exactly
Earthling.
that is the same as that's how you do the Lego game. You choose your Earth, you get in a rocket, you get shot to it, and then you go, you mess around.
right.
And you're the only woke being. Everyone else is like walking around doing their own thing,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Christmas Planet. They're just building their own shit, and you can go and do
Right.
whatever. But the neat thing is, this is where like I think it's just super cool, is our idea of like parallel dimensions and everything like that. It's like, what if that's happening here, to where because these other people that access your planet after you build it, they do it on their server. So like the changes they make to it don't show up on your planet.
Right.
They change it and save it as their own.
Right.
So they have like a clone of your planet, but it's still your planet. And it's like it struck such a chord with like a parallel dimension. Like, what if that's but again, I've been on this huge Duncan Trussell binge, and they really lean into that stuff.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
easy. It's
You
easy
two
to
should
think
hang
about,
out
but-
sometime.
But I figured I would put that bug in your ear or whatever, and then I can just recall it. Plant that seed, man. I'm gonna pray on that seed.
Duncan
Yeah.
moved.
Pray on that seed. And,
Duncan moved to New York City years ago, and then back to LA because he couldn't handle like New York City, man. It brought him down. He used to do podcasts about how depressed he was getting and stuff, and like how and this was like a while ago, but I just remember like about being New York. It was just a drag on him, the city.
yeah, well, now he wants to move out of LA and get out in the country. He says
Yeah.
he really likes gardening. It's his thing. Like keeping
Yeah,
his
there
lawn.
you go. So it's like full circle where he went back to LA, and then now He's thinking country, which is
Yeah.
where he's from. I think he's from like North Carolina or
He's
something.
from the country.
I think he's from Tennessee or like North Carolina area, like that western North Carolina.
Yeah, South's gonna rise.
Yeah, Josh is from the country. Josh is from the sticks.
I'm from the sticks.
Well, it's interesting.
He lives 6 miles away, but he lives in a whole other world.
Yeah.
Well, we all do because we literally are at this point in where we live is the middle of nowhere. Like if you say, "Oh, Binghamton, Utica," those are still nowhere. So it's like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Syracuse might be notable because of the Syracuse Orangemen, and
It's a big city, man.
but it's not that big.
Well, I mean, it's bigger than Norwich.
Yeah, well,
And
that was
Binghamton.
my point. Is that we're literally in the middle of nowhere.
Isn't it like the second or third biggest city in New York? Well,
yeah, but there's only like 6 big cities. No, it goes.
New York City.
It actually goes New York City, Buffalo, Albany, Rochester, Syracuse,
No, it does.
Utica.
You got the list right there.
Binghamton. No, I just know because
Oh.
I keep
Wait a
track of
minute.
this
Wait
shit.
a minute.
He's
wait a minute.
wrong.
What about Kingston and
He's wrong. Jamaica.
Monroe and Middlebury and Jamaica?
No, well, that's all New York City. I mean, not upstate, but upstate doesn't have the people that like Buffalo's the second biggest with like 350,000 people.
Buffalo's the third.
What's the second then? Albany?
No.
That's what
It's
they're
got to be
saying.
one of those in the middle, man. It's got to be like
That's what I said. Buffalo was
Kingston.
third.
No, you said Buffalo was second.
Yeah. I'm just saying what I think. Exactly. I mean, I could look it up. I think I'm
mean,
pretty damn right. Let's
No,
do
you're wrong.
trivia.
I just told you.
Rochester's
Wait,
not
are
bigger
you
than
you
Buffalo.
looked it up?
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Read it off to me then. That's what I was saying. Oh, you looked it up and you're like,
no, I'm not onto it. Or I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers right here.
And Albany's not that big either, man. How'd you
Yeah.
go New York City, Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, Syracuse?
Yeah, it's New York City, obviously, then Buffalo, then Rochester, then Yonkers, then Syracuse,
Ooh.
then Albany.
Albany's smaller than Syracuse, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was off after I hit the second one.
Yeah.
I was off after New York City. It kind of all went downhill after New York City.
I didn't
All right,
even-
I got to go to dinner, guys.
All right, peace
But
out.
I'll,
What do you
Middle
have?
of
What's on
nowhere.
the menu?
get hanging with you. Yeah.
What are you having?
We're having wild leek pasta
Oh.
Sounds good.
and cheese sauce and asparagus.
Oh.
She's killing it.
I've been eating asparagus
And wild ramp cheddar savory biscuits.
Oh.
Ooh,
Yeah, we're killing it.
Killing it.
A lot of carbs
Yes,
in that.
Yeah.
A lot of carbs.
It's all gluten free too.
Oh.
Congrats.
But a lot of
Have a
carbs.
good time.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
have a
Good talking to you,
time.
man.
All right, peace out.
Later. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey, later, buddy.
No.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Why not? All
Yeah.
right. See ya, Emmett. Later, buddy.
All right. Mr. Ryan Warner
Oh, yeah.
calling in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. So the cities.
Utica's,
when you think
Utica's
about
got
that-
59,000.
More than Binghamton.
Schenectady's got 63. Mount Vernon, 68. New Rochelle, 79.
Maybe if you add Albany, Schenectady, and Troy,
Oh, you can't do that, though.
then they would be bigger than Rochester.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, they're all pretty fairly.
Well, I
in
mean,
the same-
Rochester's pretty close to Buffalo, too. But,
Not really. It's
You're
like
not gonna-
40 miles.
yeah, but still. They're close.
Not as close as Troy and Schenectady to Albany.
Schenectady's a bit away from Albany, isn't it? 30 miles? Yeah. Yeah, man.
Okay.
I don't know. The fuck do I know?
Fine. Well, Rochester, you have to go north quite a ways. So it's actually, you can either go down to the interstate, or you can go up like across the lake, and that's like a windy version. It
Binghamton's
takes
got
hours.
44,000 people. That's it.
Yeah, not huge.
Troy's got 49.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
What do they got on here for? North Syracuse has 6,000 people.
It's a lot of people.
Lot of people.
But not that many.
But not that many people.
What else? What else is happening?
Well,
sometimes I'd like to take a picture of certain things.
Really? You take pictures?
Well, just a photo to remind me of something.
Oh. Norwich has 6,486 people, they say.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where we're at right now. The big city of Oneida has 11,000. And Oneida has 14,000. I was wondering about that one. The big city of Oneida. So what do you got? Nothing?
Nothing.
We got nothing for you, man. Can't do nothing for you.
Nothing.
Man. Well,
let me play a tune.
Yeah, play it.
We are, man.
You're the
Everybody
piano.
out there listening to the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio at our studio in Norwich, New York. And
Norwich.
we are looking to get 1,000 subscribers, build up our channel, just preparing for when this, lockdown releases and we can start playing music, recording bands, and, keep this thing going. But till then, I have a catalog of tunes that I like to pick from, stuff that's been recorded here, as well as
there.
Some stuff that I've
Over
captured and live and over time in other places.
Over time.
So today, I'm going to give you guys a, I'm really not sure what the tune is going to be on this.
Alrighty.
But this is actually from a something that I haven't played before. This is the Monarchs. And this is an amazing band. I'm really glad that I captured this again. This was 2008.
Ooh.
And I did this February of 2008. They were doing a yearly reunion
At the
of
Country
the
House.
Monarchs band, the Monarchs, which is a band that consisted one of my father's earliest bands that goes back to when he first started playing the drums. It had the members were my father, Bruce Beadle, Gary Beadle, who has passed, Joe Flores, who has passed, and Mr. Ron Palmer, who has also passed.
Yeah.
Great guys, and they did this for a few years. This was the only one that I was able to record, and I actually track recorded it with that old unit I brought in, and it had like 8 tracks you could plug in. So I tried to but still kind of elementary on my part. I didn't really novice skills, but so yeah, this is just the raw version of it. I didn't have these tracks labeled by name, so we're just gonna roll with the first one here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio, mAng and Neads Show. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the mAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio. And back here in the
world
control room.
Just
for
got
me.
back from Legoland.
Josh out at the desk. Legoland.
Oh boy.
Choosing worlds, but it's
Yeah.
true. It's a big theme in like modern things. Like you were saying, Sims. You know,
Yeah.
it was about 10 years ago, but
A long time
no,
ago.
I'm sure something's happening with it though. Still,
All right, I guess I better get going then.
just get some
And all
some
all this
foodie
worldly
food.
travel into another fucking
So-
in a dimension.
Yeah, man. So shit, what did we talk about today? We talked about a lot of good stuff, huh? Hell yeah. Flowed through this one.
Everything was positive.
Like I said, 44 days straight we've been running this thing, trying to build our audience, build our platform, build our the thing. We're doing it.
We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Yeah. All right,
Thanks
Josh.
for having us.
Have a good dinner. Everybody
too.
have a good night. Anybody tuning in later, please leave a like, a comment,
subscription.
any kind of interaction is good for us. So, like I said, just looking to grow our channel, get 1,000 subscribers. So, hey, man, doesn't cost anything. Just hit the button.
It's free to subscribe.
Hit that bell so you get notified when
Ding,
we go
ding,
live.
motherfucker.
And all that stuff. And we'll see you guys on the flip.
Thanks for having us.
Sonic Gardens Radio.
Mang and Neads Show. Ball sacks and burritos.
Alright now, guys and girls. Traveling song. So here we go, traveling. I'm going to Kansas City. brand new baby, and that's the reason why I'm gonna